prime tune-up for the fall major marathons in New York City and Chicago. Now in its 22nd running, the Jefferson Hospital Philadelphia Distance Run has produced 54 open and age group records and is recognized as the nation's premier half marathon. Today, the summer's top dogs and the marathon hopefuls meet up on the streets of Philadelphia on the New Balance Race of the Month. The New Balance Race of the Month is brought to you by New Balance Performance Athletic Shoes. Achieve New Balance. Hi everybody, Tony Revis along with my partner Steve Scott on an ideal racing morning as the athletes prepare for the 22nd running of the Jefferson Hospital Philadelphia Distance Run. 65 degrees, very low humidity as we've come off a big storm in the East Coast, and in its wake we've had a very clean, clear day for racing. And you got to get lucky this time of year, Steve.
Half marathon distance, weather is so important. We've seen everything at this race in the past, from high humidity to cold and rain, and never seen a day quite like this. This is just perfect half marathon weather.
Well, it's a radiant sun with cool air temperature, and that makes the athletes feel like the chance for a personal best or even a course record is in the offing. There's Gideon Matisha and Khalid Khannouchi from Morocco, who showed up at the last minute for this competition, and now Mayor Ed Randell of Philadelphia about to send them on their way. Steve, Khalid Khannouchi in the black outfit in front. We didn't expect him when they announced the field.
He was originally scheduled to go run the Dam to Dam half marathon in Holland. Because of the storm, his plane was canceled. He needs a race. He's getting ready for the Chicago Marathon, where he was first in 97, second in 98. He needs a race to get ready for it.
And he's going to be a factor in the competition.
Not only is he going to be a factor, Tony, but you could look to him to possibly break the course record here.
Well, it's his own course mark, 1 hour and 27 seconds. He said it 2 years ago. He told us before the race what he's looking for is a sub 61-minute time, and we can already see that he's gone to the front and begun to apply pressure. The question, I believe, on his mind today is whether or not anyone will challenge him throughout this race. In second place behind him is Peter Gathuka, who is our defending champion from last year. He's preparing for the November New York City Marathon.
Well, the only way that they're going to be able to beat Khannouchi is to apply the pressure and hope that he has a bad day, because he's just got an overwhelming kick. So if they leave it to the end, it's his race. Man in the sunglasses and the blonde hair was Jerry Lawson, 2:09 American marathoner. Hasn't decided where he wants to run his 26-miler this fall. We look at the map of the course. 13.1 miles, begins in Center City downtown. The majority of the race along the Schuylkill River, out to the 8-mile mark at the Falls Bridge, and then back along the river, and the finish dead flat for the most part, very fast. The first 3 miles have been changed slightly to take out some of the turns on the course, and we should have quicker times. This rise up the Market Street overpass is one of the only rises on the course. You know, this is one of the most beautiful courses that these athletes will ever run. Running along that Schuylkill River, you just can't beat the scenery. Not that these guys take time to look at the scenery.
The rest of the folks sure do. In fact, you ask elite athletes if they liked the course, didn't like the course, and they seem totally oblivious. I was looking 10 feet in front of me and focused on what I was doing, not on the course. The folks in the back of the pack, it makes a difference what the course looks like. Khannouchi, Gathuka, Joseph Kamau, number 3, with the red singlet and the white singlet. He's a 2-time previous champion, and he won the New Haven 20K just a couple of weeks ago. And a surprising coming on to form, because he was only in the 10th and 11th position in the previous races at Falmouth and the Crim 10-miler. Joseph Kabor, who's training out of the Boston camps. He is the Paris half marathon champion, but he also is 3rd at Crim and 2nd at New Haven. Gathuka, our defending champion.
There's actually 5 defending champions between the men and the women who have come back to compete in the Philadelphia Distance Run.
Philly is perfectly situated on the calendar. It prepares you expertly a month to 6 weeks out from your marathon, and it gives you a good steady test. It's not too difficult, easy to recover from because it's flat, and people have known in the past, people have run very fast based on what they've done at Philadelphia. Therefore, it's the race that people choose in America for their marathon tune-up.
Especially for New York, because it's going to simulate a lot of what the weather is going to be like in New York.
Well, right now, the Kenyans have challenged Khannouchi as we begin the Philadelphia distance run on the New Balance Race of the Month. Brought to you by New Balance Performance Athletics. Choose, achieve New Balance. And by Jefferson Hospital. Advanced medicine, superior care. Back in Philadelphia for the New Balance Race of the Month, the 22nd Jefferson Hospital Philadelphia distance run on an ideal racing day. We don't expect the medical crew or the aid stations to be overloaded. Last year, we were coming on a 5-day warming trend, and the morning of the race, as you'll remember, Steve, was just like a steam bin.
Well, they had to have been sitting on pins and needles here, wondering if the storm would pass and they'd actually even hold the race.
Well, it was a huge storm, of course, that blew through here over the weekend, and on the back side of it, they had this beautifully clear, clean day. And Julius Ondieki, number 5, is the only member of that lead pack who is not seemingly keen on Khannouchi.
You know, it doesn't matter the distance of the race. You've always got the guy who is the favorite that everybody's going to be watching. And in this case, it's Khannouchi. He is in control of the race. Everybody is sitting behind him, watching him and seeing what he's going to do.
Well, what effect does that have on the outcome of a race?
Basically, what I believe is if he wasn't in the race, these guys would be running a different race plan.
Well, here's the women's competition, number 5. Oh, my gosh, tripping over a fallen competitor. Number 5 is Taiko Terauchi from Japan, 6th at the London Marathon. Former winner of the Disney World Marathon as well. And the competition is Catherine Dereba on the left from Kenya. And up ahead, we see left to right, Terauchi. Titova from Russia, living in Gainesville. Khalid from South Africa, longtime Boulder, Colorado resident. Very strong, well-matched field on the women's side. And also number 7, Lydia Grigorieva, also from Russia.
I can't believe that Khalid is still running. And, you know, I say that with all respect. And that's probably the highest compliment you could pay to somebody is you say, are they still around?
And doing it and getting it done. Dereba, of course, our defending champion from last year, also the 96 champion, took off in 97, of course, to give birth to her daughter. And she has been, once again, for the 3rd year in the last 4, the runner of the year on the American Road Tour. Last year, under very hot, humid conditions, she ran 69 minutes here in Philadelphia. But this year, she's preparing for the New York City Marathon, and she's upped her training, and you wonder if that's to take some of the snap out of her legs, make her vulnerable.
Well, it doesn't look like she's been too vulnerable this year. She has 8 victories and only 2 losses. But, like you said, you have to up your mileage. You have to start training for the marathon distance. I think in 98, it was just a matter of having taken 97 off with a baby. There just wasn't enough strength there for the marathon distance. Now she has an extra year behind her. She should look quite good at the New York City Marathon.
Well, now the pack is heading on to Ben Franklin Parkway toward the Schuylkill River. They're getting near the 4-mile mark. And as we take a look at their splits, they are about 20 seconds behind Khannouchi's 1997 course record times, which means there's still some tactics going on, though Khannouchi continues to control the front.
But this is the type of course where on the right day, the second half could be a much faster paced race than the first half, especially when you're winding through downtown. Well,
there's Catherine Dereba, the sweet-stroking Kenyan, who doesn't look like she's running as fast as she does, but also very controlled. Next to her, Lydia Grigorieva, who only finished 4 seconds behind her at the Crim 10-miler in Flint, Michigan, late in August. So she has proven to be competitive with Dereba, but Deruk is in front with Titova in second. All the athletes in this lead pack live and train in the United States, and in recent years, a number of foreign athletes who have done so have asked for and received U.S. citizenship. Khalid Khannouchi is on that track at present. Well, Colleen, too, has been a longtime Colorado resident, but she remains a South African in spite of it all.
I feel that I live out of South Africa. Although I compete for South Africa and I always want to compete for South Africa, I feel that they don't treat me as well because I don't live in South Africa. And I can understand their point, but then I think they should also understand the athlete's point. You know, you want to further your career, and as a family, I don't want to travel all the time. That is not my choice. So therefore I have settled in America while I am doing my competitive running, and I don't feel it's right that I should be set against me.
Khalid did not run the World Championships Marathon in Seville this summer because of a bad ankle. Because of that, she was not selected for the World Half Marathon Road Championships by her federation. And you'd have to think, with her and Alina Meyer, they could win it hands down, but that's politics.
We will have Colleen leading the women, Khalid Khannouchi leading the men onto the Schuylkill River when we return. Welcome back to the 1999 Philadelphia Distance Run Festival of Races on the New Balance Race of the Month. Perfect day for racing, and now Khalid Khannouchi begins to lead the athletes, including the other two champions previously, Gathuka, the 98 champion, number 3, Kamau, the 95 and 96 champion, out along the Schuylkill River. And the paces continue to be just off the course record, but still very strong. You can see that Indian file that the athletes have. And here's a look at the 97 race by Khannouchi. A lot of power all the way to the tape, running 1 hour, 27 seconds, and then went on to the Chicago Marathon, winning in 2 hours, 7 minutes, and 10 seconds. Last year, he didn't run Philadelphia, went on and took second in Chicago in 2:7:19. He wants that title back, and to him, that seems to be every bit as important as what time he runs.
You know, that's what I like about Khannouchi and also Colleen DeRook. They like the titles. They want to win championships. They're not necessarily out looking for world records. And they run the races the way they do because they want to win the race.
Well, Colleen DeRook, when we asked her what her half marathon or what her marathon personal best was, didn't know. I think it's around 2 hours, 26 minutes. But some people have every time they've ever run memorized. Colleen runs to win races. And right now, she's got the lead, but she's being stalked, even though she's dropped a number. It's Grigorieva in the yellow and Dereba in second place. And those three have whittled it down to that number. Now on the American side for the men, Jerry Lawson, who's training in Ohio with John Sens, already has his sights set ahead toward the Olympic year.
Even going into the trials, I'd like to set a time where they're going to have to chase me, and they're going to know they're going to have to chase me. And that's how I want to set up the race, so that when we get into the race, you know, if I'm just running with them, they're going to know at some point that I'm going to go. And that's when they have to make the decision.
You know, with all that paraphernalia he's got going there, would you say he's the Dennis Rodman of the running world?
I don't know about his dating habits, but definitely his ear implants seem to be along those lines. We got no implants in the top three. All three Philadelphia distance run champions passing 6 miles, 28 minutes, 1 second. Again, about 20 seconds off the course record, but all three of these men are knowing how to win on this course.
You know, the thing is interesting, you look at them and you can hardly see any sweat. At 6 miles in the race, you'd think that they would just be sweating profusely. That shows that this is a good running day.
Well, here's a look at Peter Gathuka winning the championship last year, preparing for his debut marathon, which was in New York City, and he placed 5th in New York City. Well, this year he's got more experience. He's getting ready for New York City again, and he could be a factor at New York City for the victory, not just the top 5.
You know, it used to be where you have your debut marathon and you could win in a 2:10. These days, you have your debut marathon, you run 2:10, you get 10th.
You know, that's not Joseph Kamau, who's wearing number 3. With the lead pack is Ben Kamandu, who's more of a surprise, another one of the athletes who's living in Norristown, Pennsylvania. Another surprise, the man wearing number 6 from Japan, Yasukai Yamamoto, a 2:11:13 marathoner, 10th at the London Marathon, who's run 4 personal bests in a row in the marathon and is preparing for the Fukuoka Marathon back home in December. There's Joseph Gohugu, winner of the CVS Revco Marathon this year, 4th last year at the Chicago Marathon, struggling like a demon to try to hold on to this pack. and we will return. The Falls Bridge lies ahead after this. Welcome back to the New Balance Race of the Month on a beautiful fall day in Philadelphia for the 22nd Philadelphia Distance Run. Well, there's the Schuylkill River with the Falls Bridge and the bagpipes in the background. And when the athletes cross over the Falls Bridge at 8 miles, normally we've identified the champion. But on the women's side, we still have 3 women running right together. Colleen Daruk in the lead from South Africa in Boulder, Colorado. Then Grigorieva in the yellow outfit from Russia. And Catherine Dereba from Kenya, the defending champion. We've got a 2-time champion, though, in Colleen Daruk as well here in Philadelphia. So she's no stranger to what it takes to win, but she hasn't been able to do it this year against Dereba, finishing second at the Falmouth Road Race Tour in August.
You know, course knowledge and having a good course history makes a big difference. But the thing is, both of them have good course history here. They've both been champions.
Twice they've been champion. Here's last year's sprint to the tape by Dereba. And, you know, running that 69:45 time last year into the great heat and the great humidity, we thought with a day like this, a course record would be at least a potential. It stood for 15 years. Joan Samuelson's time coming off the Olympic gold medal in '84 Los Angeles. But the way the race has unfolded, it hasn't led toward that course record time, and they're running more like in a 70 minutes, 30-second range right now.
Well, I think what it is they have that marathon on their mind, and they're looking forward to it, and maybe this is just like a paced effort for them.
Right now, we're coming home along the Schuylkill River, and Khalid Khannouchi has begun to drive away from Ben Commando on the left and Peter Gathuka, the defending champion, on the right. And look how easy he's running, and he's making up room with every step. Gathuka is trying to answer Steve, but he's got to have some real running in front of him to try to match up with Khannouchi. When he's on, he's the man.
You know, Khannouchi is one of those guys that races very seldom. He's had very few races this year, so when he steps to the line, you got to know that he's serious. And if you don't put the pressure on him early and hope that he has a bad day, you just don't have a chance against him.
Well, now it's time for this month's New Balance in Action, brought to you by New Balance Performance Athletic Shoes. Achieve New Balance. And the day before the day, at 10 a.m., the kids came out for the 7th annual Aetna U.S. Healthcare Children's Run. They were on Ben Franklin Parkway as well, running anywhere from a little sprint to about a half a mile. Ages 3 through 12. Let the kids show you what they did. Aetna U.S. Healthcare Children's Run. Every bit as entertaining as the adults. That's this month's New Balance in Action. Peter Gathuka, Steve, look at his arms. It tells the entire story.
Well, not only his arms, Tony, but his arms, his shoulder, his mouth, his jaw, his head, his back. He's got that strained look on his face. He's having a tough time.
On the other hand, look at the power on Khannouchi's form. Arms driving from the shoulders, head level and straight ahead. He's not weathered by the experience a little bit, but he's still all driving toward that tape with no competition able to stay with him. We'll bring him home after this. Welcome back to Philadelphia for the New Balance Race of the Month, brought to you by New Balance Performance Athletic Shoes. Achieve New Balance. By Jefferson Hospital, Advanced Medicine, Superior Care. And by the Country Music Marathon, coming to Nashville, April 29th, 2000. Coming to the finish line, the fall of 1999, Khalid Khannouchi, the 97 champion and course record holder, about 20 seconds off this course record all along the course of the day. He broke away between 8 and 9 miles and has extended his lead from that point forward, and he is hammering home well under 61 minutes. Khannouchi salutes the crowd, hits the tape, an hour and 47 seconds. 2 times the Philadelphia distance run champion is running all the way now to Chicago to try to secure that title later this year.
Boy, he makes it look easy, Tony. He just looked unpressed the whole way, always in a state of relaxation. Finishes, does not stop immediately and bend over and to catch his breath. He's totally within himself the entire way. This looks good for him for Chicago.
Well, last year it did too, and then he had the lead, and in the final 2 kilometers he came down with that Achilles tendon problem, and he had to slow down, and he got beat by Ondoro Soro. So anything can happen in a marathon, but this is a good sign. Peter Guthuka in second place, not bending over either. Ben Kamandu, a strong performance in third, and now Yamamoto from Japan in fourth, with a 2-minute plus personal best. Gideon Mutisha in fifth behind him. Joseph Kabor from Kenya, who was second in New Haven and third at Krim, so he must be on the downward slide, as he'll probably be finishing his season and heading back to Kenya for some retraining.
Don't worry, Tony. There's plenty of other guys in Kenya who will be willing to take his place.
That's the thing. Every time there's a group over here that's racing, there's a group back home that's preparing to come over and race, and it never quite ends. We take a look at our scoreboard, and the time, 20 seconds off the course record for Khannouchi, but unpressed in the process. You think he could have gone a lot faster. There's Mustafa El Nachadi, the manager of a lot of the Kenyans living in Norristown, and he was the 1989 PDR champion. He knows a thing or two about racing well on this course. Past Eakins Oval in 12 miles, Colleen DeRook and Catherine DeRebin. What do we see, Steve?
You know, Tony, it's a lot like comparing a Ferrari and a Mercedes. They're both classic, excellent cars, but one is just a lot more efficient than the other. And a Ferrari is more efficient, it's going to go faster. And that's what I see here. Catherine DeRebin has just got this effortless form, and she's just got such an efficient way of running.
Well, right now the men continue to cross with a lot of speed and a lot of power, and nobody seems to be taken out by these conditions out there today. Everyone sort of stops their watch and checks their time and says, maybe I've run faster than I ever have before in Philadelphia. And now for the first time, DeRebin has come up alongside of DeRook and is going by and taking the lead with a half-mile left.
You know, running fast is all about efficiency and relaxation. You look at Catherine's face, see how her jaw is bouncing? That is true relaxation right there. She's just totally within herself and just easily moves away from DeRook.
Colleen has that form which is already well extended throughout the course of the race. It's hard to lift that into a higher gear. She's already there, so there's nothing left when it's time to sprint. And now DeRebin's really pounding toward that tape. She's well off the time she ran last year, but she looks very strong considering that she hasn't reduced her training in preparation for the New York City Marathon. Catherine DeRebin, for the second time, wins the PDR. 1 hour, 10 minutes, 31 seconds, her winning time.
You know, this has to be frustrating for Colleen DeRook. She leads for nearly 13 miles, only to be overtaken in the last little bit. But that's part of racing.
And it's happened before. Every time they've raced this year, that's been the scenario. Colleen's got to try to get away, can't do it. DeRebin goes by at the end. Grigorieva in third place. And Lydia's time also under 1:11. And now another fine Japanese performance in fourth place, just like the men. Taiko Terauchi, 1:13.19 her time, and Titova from Russia and Gainesville just behind her. Now we look at the women's scoreboard. And in sixth place, Marina Belyeva from Russia was our first Masters finisher, with Kim Jones, the top American, and second Master in eighth place. Now for Steve Scott, I'm Tony Revis. Thanks for joining us in Philadelphia. We'll see you next month out on the roads. This has been a presentation of ESPN, worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of the Go Network.